Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the Ph.D. Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Arielle Nakdimon is a Ph.D. student at Gratz College focusing on Antisemitism Studies. She participated this summer as a scholar in residence with the Institute for the Study of Global Antisemitism and Policy held at Oxford University. Arielle is married to an Israeli and previously served as president of the Jewish Federation of the Upstate of South Carolina. Welcome back to the show. Always good to have you.
Always good to be here. Thank you so much, Joey.
Let's talk about, and what an amazing few days we have had. And I don't want to jinx it because there's still work to be done, but things are looking great for Israel and the families of the hostages as the ceasefire has officially begun. Talk with us about that.
Well, I think that right now we're looking at, it's really important to zoom out and understand what we're seeing in the proposed ceasefire and its military negotiations. It's so much of a pivot of what we've seen before in a previous administration. And as the U.S. administration, Trump administration, the view on Israel's security and America's leadership in the Middle East, there's incredible clarity here. And it has been since even before the second term inauguration of Trump. And that has really been about fostering that diplomacy, Abraham Accords 2.0, understanding that Israel is a pivotal piece within that and within the Arab nations. So understanding how we ended up getting here to this incredible moment of phase one, it's really about the U.S. and Israel's alliance and the priority to return the hostages, both dead and alive, and understand how to de-escalate the conflict that has been consuming Israel and Gaza.
Yeah. Talk with us a minute, Arielle, about the American involvement a little more specifically. And honestly, do you think this would have ever happened had we had anyone else in the Oval Office?
No, I think what's trending right now, especially with the accolades for Bibi Netanyahu and for Donald J. Trump, like this is in response to the connections that they have already created within the Abraham Accords and coming back to the table and really having strong diplomacy, bringing in partners, Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, the UAE, and understanding how to really balance these negotiations to be able to get to the table. I mean, one of the things that really stands out to me in this entire process before the even inauguration was the intention of bringing in Prime Minister Netanyahu to the United States and really having that alliance very public. Even that we saw with the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, with the release of the hostage, Idan Alexander. It's so much more of a humanistic moment. I mean, as Steve Witkoff visited Idan Alexander in the hospital, he took off the Star of David necklace that belonged to his son and gave it to him and said that you're doing my son a great honor if you wore this. I mean, we're talking about real deep connections here. And I don't believe that it would happen with any other administration.
Wow. Arielle Nakdimon is my guest today. She's co-founder of the Better Communities Alliance in Greenville, a nonprofit that was formed after the October 7th attack to strengthen dialogue about anti-Semitism and Israel here in the upstate. Do you view this as a peace deal or just a temporary ceasefire, if you will, to create space for negotiation for humanitarian aid?
It's certainly a structured, temporary ceasefire to be able to understand that we need to have a transactional moment of hostage exchange, both dead and alive. Right now, there's 48 Israeli hostages that remain in Gaza. To date, the reports are 20 of them are alive, 28 of them are deceased. But it's a cause for a pause, humanitarian action, and really within this exchange, there's roughly 2,000 prisoners, Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails, that about 250 of them are serving life sentences, 1,700 of them who were arrested post 10/7 are part of this negotiation, this exchange. So the asymmetry right there kind of tells you everything. The stakes are high. Certainly, the humanitarian aid component. I also think it's really important to highlight the Trump administration of forming the U.S. Israel-backed nonprofit Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that was formed in February of 2025. That has really been a critical asset within food distribution within Gaza when either the UN found it too dangerous or could not be able to have that role. So under the ceasefire, there will be more aid. There will be, less of an environment that is risky to be able to get those products that are desperately needed to the civilians.
Yeah. It's just amazing, Arielle. I had the opportunity soon after the October 7th attack a couple of years ago to visit Israel. Mike Gallagher and I, we were at Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, and we were able to interview some of the families. We were able to see they had a makeshift tunnel, if you will, to kind of demonstrate the conditions and how Hamas and the terrorists would go from one place to the other through these tunnels. And to think that for 2 years now, that these poor people have been held captive and probably in just some horrible, horrible conditions. I just can't imagine what these families are feeling now. And we saw a phone call between some of the families and President Trump as he announced to them that their loved ones would be coming home. What a great accomplishment.
It's an incredible accomplishment. And to your point of these tunnels, I mean, they're confined in darkness and in a dungeon. It's inhospitable, and to be able to have this opportunity where we're going to hopefully see all of the hostages come home is it's an incredible feeling. The only hostage that my family in particular has a connection with is Evitar David.
Yes.
And you may have seen him in photos recently. He's very emaciated. Hamas had a propaganda video where he was literally digging his own grave. And to have the hope that he's going to be able to return to his family, and that the hostages, after 2 terrible years of conflict, not only in Gaza, but I mean, we're talking about a 7-front war Israel has been engaged in for the past 2 years. And to be able to have this hope means everything.
Yeah. And I just think about what we saw. We were able to visit one of the first kibbutz that was just literally across just inside of Israel at the Gaza border there. And they just went through this kibbutz. They actually went through the kibbutz before they got to the music festival that we've seen so much about. And we walked down the street, and there were just burned out homes and photos of the families who had lived there. And I remember the story, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was in his 80s, and he was taken captive. And, they had photos of him and told his story. He was there home with a caretaker at the time, and they killed the caretaker at the home, took this elderly gentleman with them. He eventually did pass away, and I understand his body was returned to the family this past January. But I stood there and I looked at his home, and it was pretty much burned out, but there was still his breakfast table there, and it just had a cup of coffee on it still, that they had left this coffee mug on the table. And I thought, he got up that morning and was having his coffee like he normally did, not realizing that his day and his life was going to change forever. It's just horrendous.
It is horrendous. And What we saw after 10/7, I mean, directly to the point of the sharing of the story, is the same thing that we see in Holocaust denial, that there's a denial of what really transpired in Israel on 10/7. And, these people, they were families. I
Yeah.
mean, the Hamas terrorists and other terrorists chose to target the civilian areas first. And entire families were massacred, women were raped, we had, beheadings. There's a lot of trauma in that because, as you say, they were just waking up from a morning, and it happened to be a Jewish holiday as well.
Yeah.
And we've seen that through time as being able to be a target point for Jewish victimization. And I think that as we move forward, the preservation of what happened and to be able to share the stories are going to become really critical.
Yeah. Arielle Nakdimon is with me today. Arielle, as a Jewish American, how do you think this ceasefire and the hostage deal affects the Jewish community here in the United States?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. So I personally have a lot of family. We have friends in Israel. So we're looking at this of a place of incredible hope. Been resilient for so long. They've been, Israelis have been going into their bomb shelters. You have the Houthis bombing, you have airdrops, you have Iran, and now we have this celebration of life that we can actually conclude this chapter and get back what was stolen is incredibly important. And I think that, American Jewry is also feeling that same way that, we certainly want the hostages returned and we certainly want phase two after phase one to continue because it's a portion of relief and grief. And I would say, even as an American living in the upstate, I'm very identifiably Jewish. I speak a lot. My children are very proud of who they are. And our lives have dramatically changed since the war in Israel, just with anti-Semitism, what they experience in schools, and what we experience out in the community. It's a different world than we had before. So it's certainly a day of pause and reflection, and hopefully this chapter comes to a close soon.
Yeah. Did you think that 2 years ago that it would have taken 2 years to get to this point?
I did not. That was one of the most difficult things to process when I was getting inundated with information, when I had pictures streaming through my social media on 10/7, it was even difficult to wrap my head around that. And then following 10/8, where, kind of looking around at all these, Human Rights Watch organization, feminist organizations, and not having them rally to really put pressure on the situation was a shock. There's no other way to describe it. And I think that the layers and the effects of that shock still continue today of
Yeah.
not understanding, where was the pressure. And again, it's thanks to the Trump administration. I mean, that's really what it is. It was a sense of global paralysis and maybe political complexity, if you want to boil it down to that. But Trump made it very clear that this was going to be something that he took very seriously. And Hamas really weaponized the bargaining chips by using hostages. And I think that, within the deal that is set up right now, it's going to take a lot of pressure. And I think that's what's so incredible about the design that we have right now. If we go past phase two and this structure of this overseeing board, it's going to have to happen. We can't let Hamas stay in the Gaza. We can't have Fatah. We can't have the Palestinian Authority, as they have proven time and time again that they're using the Palestinian people, they're radicalizing them, they're indoctrinating them into terror, and they don't have a future if that continues. But by bringing in the different Arab nations and leadership, Tony Blair, President Trump, to be able to oversee what could be within that area, I mean, that's a glimmer of hope for the future.
Yeah, for sure. Arielle Nakdimon, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for your time, and we'll check back with you hopefully in the next few weeks as we experience this. And again, there's work to be done, but boy, I think we are finally there, don't you?
I really do. I think it's an incredible step, and I'm very much looking forward to the return of the hostages and phase 2.
Yeah, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Joey.
That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the Ph.D. Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.